So a few weeks ago, when I was trying to set up a nonprofit, and we're all kind of sitting around the table, and we're trying to figure out, hey, what is the definition of success? How do we know that we have actually been successful? And then, of course, I kind of spoke up and said, well, we ought to have metrics. And they're all kind of like looking at, what do you mean by metrics? This is supposed to be a volunteer group. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. I said, yeah, but we also serve a mission, and part of that mission ought to be able to be quantified. So we kind of went back and forth on the metrics until we finally got to a pretty good conclusion. But you know what? I'm going to share that here in just a few minutes. But in the meantime, I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. Okay, so let's get back to this thing called metrics. Metrics, measurement, goals, objectives. By now, you ought to know that I like those. But to the extent possible, you ought to have some measurable, quantifiable um, objectives that are there so that you can measure how well you are doing or how well you are not doing, whatever may be the case. So let's use some fairly straightforward examples. Diet and exercise. Diet, how many calories are you supposed to be consuming or not consuming? How many grams of protein are you supposed to be having? How much fiber are you supposed to be ingesting? How much sugar are you not supposed to be ingesting? You figure out whatever appropriate for you. Then, while you're tracking your diet, you kind of take a quick snapshot of those macros and kind of see, hey, are you actually hitting the quantifiable metrics that you have established for yourself? If you're not, so for example, you notice that you're not getting enough protein, then maybe you need to have more peanuts or nuts or more meat in order to increase your protein. Let's say that you not having enough fiber. So you might ingest more vegetables, whatever else has more fibrous foods so that your fiber will increase. Sugar, hey, you know what? Stay away from the sugar drinks. Maybe not have so much. Whatever it is, it allows you to make adjustments as you go along. Now, the question becomes, are you measuring the right things? Are your quantifiable measurements leading you in the right direction? And you might say, hey, wait. Okay. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're actually hitting all your quantifiable goals, maybe you need to rearrange what those metrics are and measure the right things. So that is a concept, and that is highly important. So I talked about it from the individuals, but it's the same thing that applies to organizations as well, whether they're for the profit or nonprofit world. The first thing that you have to do is find out what it is that's most important to actually measure. You don't want too many things to measure, maybe three to four. And then over time, kind of make sure that what you're measuring is actually getting you the results that you need. So going back to the nonprofit, one of our goals is to raise an exorbitant amount of money. Did we set a aspirational goal that's out there? That's awesome. Measurable, kind of see, on those areas. So that's good. Now, how do we kind of keep track? Maybe it's the number of grants that we write. Maybe it's the number of activities that we do. And you know what? What's going to happen is that those metrics will evolve until we get to the right mixture that actually points us in the right direction so that we can actually accomplish what we need to do. Take that over to the for-profit side. Let's say that you have already secured the business and then you are delivering. Now, obviously, you would have some kind of cost piece to there, so that's highly quantifiable. And just kind of asking yourself, hey, am I delivering what I should have within the metrics that have been established for me? If they're not, then during your lessons learned, your after action review, you may want to go back and double check and ask yourself again, am I measuring the right thing? Most of the time, you're probably not going to get it right the first time. If you are, kudos to you. Awesome, great job. Hit the go button, move on. But you know what? You may find that you're actually hitting all of your metrics, and I'm using air quotes for that, and everything is doing as you thought it was. However, you're really not getting to where you need to be. And at that point, don't be afraid to go back and rearrange those. It is meant to be kind of an evolving system. So just to wrap all this up, metrics, key, which you can't measure, you can't do on that side. We inspect what we expect. A lot of different common phrases around that, but it is key to have them. Second point, do not be afraid to evolve them. If they're just not working for you, drop them, find another metric. Like I said, it's not unusual to go through 3 or 4 iterations until you find the one recipe that works for you. Hopefully you found that helpful. If you did, please hit the like, subscribe, share button. It helps us to be back of service back to you. In the meantime, may all of your work, your activities, your projects, your nonprofit efforts, may them all be highly successful.